Hello everyone. Today we're here with a real board video. I just played a game on Fox and it went okay, but I may have had some technical difficulties because I am not at my home right now and I forgot to maybe switch a few parameters. It's not a big deal, I'm sure. Probably not a big deal. But for now, I wanted to test out this real board setup anyway, and so I thought this could be a good starting point. I'm just going to review the game I just played, and yeah, I hope you enjoy it. All right, so here we have the board, and in this game, I was white. Black started off in the upper right corner here. I didn't want to deal with a cross game, so I took the 4-4. Black did another 3-4 point, and I just did double 4-4 this time. And these are flat on one side stones, so I'm still not exactly used to them. So if you see me fumbling around, I'm going to use that as my excuse. In this case, my opponent decided to approach me directly on the left side of the board. This is a little bit of an unusual move. It's perfectly acceptable to play. However, it is more common to have approached on this side. The idea being is if you back off as white, then black is able to pull back in some way, creating like a Chinese formation. So often you would see maybe white deciding to approach instead to prevent any sort of large framework type game, you could say. But when black approaches on the other side, it actually makes it a little bit easier. Wow. It actually makes it a little bit easier for white. If we just back off, then black doesn't really have a good formation that they can make on this side. If they just take an enclosure, it sort of feels a little bit too late. And if black ends up backing off in some way, either attaching or backing off directly, white is able to get an approach move pretty comfortably. However, this is not really how I like to play this sort of situation, though it's perfectly acceptable. In the game, I decided to just approach right away. And black thought that he needed to follow up, which is, I think, not that bad. And so I don't want to be surrounded in this area, so I attach out. You can probably play either one, but in this case, I want to be building something towards this side of the board. And usually they hane and extend into the corner in some way, and you do get that. So I want to support my lonely stone over here. Black does decide to hane, of course. I respond. And he plays a little bit of an old Joseki, just taking away the tiger's mouth here. Normally you don't really see that anymore because black will play either a diagonal or the direct attachment instead. But this is still a viable move, just old now. And because the black stone here is on the third line, you are able to block here. Because if black decides to push through, you don't have to protect your two stones. You can just choose to extend, sort of just separating the black group or the black stones here. So black just took a base. It was really nice to see something simple like this. And I took the knight's move here. Black did decide to push once. I think that's probably fine. I don't really know this Joseki too well since it's not played anymore. But I know that there is Aji in the corner with a move like this, sort of threatening to push and cut or connect up underneath. So white probably wants to fix this, especially if black ever gets a turn here. But just backing off for now because I don't have to fix it right away. And I believe black just takes a 2 space here. While my shape is not perfect on the left side, this does give me a little bit of time to come back to this stone. And I just press him down. Now, he should probably just respond right away. Something like this here so that the attachment in the corner is not too big of a deal. But he decided to push one more time, which was a little bit good. Not a black stone, which was a little bit good for me. This is making me even stronger for when I want to try to do something with the group on the top left. Then black decides to jump. To keep it very simple, I decide to just pincer here. It doesn't look like I'm building too much here, but the point of this move is not territory. The point of this move is that this group is weak, so I need to pressure it. Make sure it doesn't get more of a base. Black plays a little bit slowly here with his diagonal. I don't want to be pressed down, so I do push up. I believe he plays a move that I can't really remember. Yes, this knight's move here. I like that black is actually trying to make some sort of shape there. I do like the idea behind this move, but so because I want to just stay solid and not worry, I decide to just extend here. Now, it could be way better to connect solidly. We're sort of threatening a little bit more, but this stone's really close. So I figured that this move here, I have a potential to push, maybe not cut, but peep or do any sort of other thing here. I want to be more towards this group. Black jumps out. I probably don't have to respond again, but I decide to just prevent the tiger's mouth, make it a little bit easier on myself. And black jumps back. So even though it's a little bit slow, I actually really appreciate that black is just focused on making sure his group's alive, getting rid of any sort of aji there. He could have played like a little bit faster, for example, or even towards the center. But I like that the idea that they have is actually quite nice. This is a fairly solid group. This is a fairly solid group. This one is starting to become solid. And he doesn't really have as much to worry about as some of the other players that we've run into. I don't want to be surrounded. And there are better moves that I could play. But I decided to keep it simple. Just turn. Black extends. I'm already sort of out towards the center, or I can come back and live in the corner. So even if black jumps here, I can still come out. So now I had to make a choice. Do I protect this stone? Now that there's some stones on either side of it, it can't really expand in the way that it normally would want to as a 4-4. Or do I approach the 3-4? I like to play a little bit more, as I said, solid. So I played this one. I had to play from this side because if I play this one, it just feels quite easy for black to come over here. And it's a little bit hard to invade directly. And if I kick it, the shape is not so bad for black. Maybe a very slight overextension, but with a stronger group, so it's possible this is getting close to efficient. So instead of allowing that, we just play the stone here and not worry about it. Now, what black should have done at this point was probably enclose their corner in some way. But instead, they decided to kick here. And this is where black is making his real mistakes. I probably do want to respond, but I don't have to take gote. If they're going to respond to this move, they're probably not going to let me push into the corner. So I can hane here. And if they block, I can probably tanuki now, but I can also just atari first. And I don't have to worry about this side. It's going to be safe. And I can move to the bottom or approaching. Play the bigger move. So while they're playing solid, they were missing the big move. They played a little bit differently than that. I played the hane, and then they did this one, which was a little bit weird. Technically, I could probably go into the corner, but really the problem with this move is that when I respond, it is now a solid shape there. Black still needs a move in the corner. So they get gote. I don't need to protect that one stone. It's just endgame at this point. My group is solid, and there's no true weakness that I have to really worry about. So I was able to go back and approach here. Now, the high approach is important in this case. If I approach low, this is still playable, still totally possible. I'm going to be settling in some way. But I want to play high because black has stones nearby, and this one's easier to run out towards the center, or to be a little bit more flexible with, in my opinion. And most people tend to attach underneath. So I was fairly certain that I would have a nice position here. Normally, I would just Hane right away, but in this case, I decided to do the avalanche, not a full avalanche Joseki, but the avalanche idea. When black blocks here, I'm just going to Hane. If black plays the new avalanche Sing, then I'm going to be pretty happy to extend and have influence towards this side. I was able to reduce the points here to the third line and be pretty happy with my end result. But black decided to extend instead. Since I said I wanted to keep it simple, this is a basic type of game. I just Atari here. Black has to respond. And then all you have to do at this point is just protect your shape. You could leave this more weak, but solid play is going to win you a lot of games. And those games will look a little bit more effortless than if you're doing something very complicated. Bottom is very big now, so black does decide to just split. This is a little bit hard for me to decide, but I could push it in either direction because my groups are somewhat strong. The corner is the stronger group. This one has some weakness. If black is able to get a move around here, for example, then these stones, while flexible and can probably still live, there's at least weakness and something to worry about in the future. Whereas if black gets a move over here, I don't really have anything to worry about. I can just take my corner. So I decided to just push this way. Black kicks right away, which was interesting. This is not necessarily a bad move because it could be trying to over-concentrate this shape. But the point of this was just to get me a little bit of extra base and to put pressure on his stone. This wasn't really about points. A lot of what I do is not really about points. It's about strength and weakness of the groups. When I extend here, normally black has to jump in some way. But seeing as they can't really attack this and they're the weaker group, he decided to come over here. Normally I'd be kicking right away just because that's sort of the instinctual move. But in this case, black has a lot of weakness in this shape. And I don't really want him to fix it, or at least semi-fix it. So instead of kicking, we take a step back. Defend our shape here, defend our points, defend our base, you could say. Prevent him from coming in and tell him he needs to fix himself. He extends down here. But the problem is that doesn't really fix all of the weaknesses of this shape. If you want to fix them all, he probably just needs to come back, which is a little bit sad. But normally you'd want to be jumping out towards the center. Moving towards the center is almost always better than settling on the side, very small, especially when white has an easy follow-up move. This is a very common kicking shape, same as what would have been here. You can always attach on the top in this sort of situation, which is one reason why it's not a very good shape. Black is going to be able to settle, but it's not going to be very fun. Black Hane is here. I turned first because I was talking about the situation, but honestly, it's probably better to extend first. But I turned first here. Black plays a little bit, I'm going to say a little bit of a mistake in just connecting, because if he wants to settle quickly, it's better to play the tiger's mouth. And it seemed like that was his goal, but connecting, there's still peeps and other Aji here. So I just extend to the center. And black moves on to trying to take more of his points here. Now, if you look at the board, you might actually notice that the point balance is probably not that big of a difference, right? Like, there's still Aji over here, but we're going to give this 2 points because it's going to be a living group. Living groups I count as 2 points. This one's going to have a random amount of points. I'm going to say 5 points here. And this here, we can potentially get up to 15 points in this area. And this one, we can just say 10. Make it nice and simple. So 32 points with Komi. We can probably round that up a little bit to make it easier to remember. We can round that up to 40 points. Black probably has close to that just on this side. I mean, from 1 to 19, if this is all black has, that's pretty much already there. And then black has a couple extra areas of points. So I can understand why black is playing this way. If he can secure all of this, maybe he just wins. But this makes it a little bit easier for white to play as well. I believe I just push here right away, because I was probably never invading this anyway. I was probably only ever going to reduce it. Black has to extend. And then again, instead of focusing on points, I want to focus on strength and weakness of groups. So instead of maybe trying to build a couple more points here or pushing in here, which is quite large, I'm like, you know what? There's this 2-space extension, gets me 1 or 2 points, but it also makes this group weak and not alive yet. Black sort of needs a move right away. Honestly, black probably should just play something right away. It's a big enough move anyway. Black does not decide to do that though. And they decide to do this sort of weird jump here. Sort of an elephant eye and a large knight at the same time. This is totally a possible move. But the problem is there's too much weakness for it to be very strong. And I don't try to kill everything in this game. I just want to punish a little bit. So I play inside. If they push this way, it's easily cut off. You can't accept that. So they did actually play the correct move here, which is the turn. That was really nice. So I'm just punishing a little bit. I push in. They block. Then I can turn here. All I'm trying to do is just connect up my stones. It's a little bit of Aji, but if I can connect up my stones enough, that's good enough for me. I reduce potentially a little bit. There's still a cutting point, and I get a little bit more potential in the center. But then black does another questionable jump. They play here. I understand the point of this. They're trying to reduce my potential. This upper left group is not alive yet. It's undercut. And this isn't really enough space for 2 eyes. So black actually does have to worry, especially if I'm able to cut off a stone like this. So the first thing I do right away is cut it off. There's no way I'm not doing that. I'm just going to push right through. The shape here is just too bad for black. And we get this really beautiful attack on these 2 stones, with this stone also still having the option of being cut off. Black Ataris from this direction. We just come out toward the center. And I believe they jumped here. Before doing anything with these 2 stones, I want to see if I can connect to them. So I play the Atari first. If black connects solidly to prevent me from getting anything here and keeping these stones cut off, now I have a much easier time getting into this area, making this extremely weak. So black played the correct move, which was this one. This is the correct shape. Now, I actually don't have to worry about my group as much in the center anymore. So if I want to, I can try to play very aggressively. I still hold back a little bit here, but I attach. Just a nice shape point for us to move out quicker. They extend, leaving some Aji there. And instead of being too severe, I just play this one to connect up my group. There is Aji here, which is why I didn't want to be too aggressive, right? There is still this Hane. But right now, if black does play the Hane, of course I need to cut it first. But black needs to defend. And I'm currently able to run out, and it should be fine. Be running towards this group, and this group still has the ability to run that direction. Black is also not alive yet, so this would be a good direction for me to be moving in, but probably a good way to try to fight back. Instead of doing this, though, black decides that that cut is not important and just peeps instead. Now, if black is able to live with this move really quickly, then this is perfectly fine to play. Because if not, all I'm doing is I'm fixing my only weakness that I have. And that seems like a good exchange for me. Black jumps out again. There's still a lot of cutting up points, So I can cut, but I want to demonstrate that you don't really have to cut and kill something. I could just push and cut here. This is likely dead, but instead I'm going to offer a trade. I do this empty triangle. If he connects, then I push and I can destroy the points here on the side. So that's my offer. Connect your group and lose points, or keep your points and lose your group. It's an easy answer for black. He did decide to just save his groups, and so I get to push in. Black extends, and I'm just gonna keep doing what my plan was here. So I'll push all the way in and prevent him from getting his points here. Black did decide to play a nice move here to defend himself, which was good. And I probably don't have to necessarily defend those, but I decide that this will keep the game nice and simple. Black decides to peep one more time. This one's probably good to play. It gets a little bit of an eye shape here, in case there's still a cutting point, which there is at this point. I can peep and push through. Now I do have to worry about this shape first, so if I can fix this side, then this peep and cut is always available. Something I want to point out here, again, are the points on the board. Maybe a little bit of a pun there, I didn't even realize. So the point balance is still basically the same. I still have basically the same amount of points here, and here, and here, and here. Black lost a couple points here, so technically I should be a little bit ahead. But you notice that him playing this very solid game, yes, I could have probably cut and killed him, but him mostly playing a very solid game has kept the game very even. This is actually why I suggest that you play in this way. So at this point in the game, black should just be thinking of one thing. Do I have any weakness, and can I fix that weakness? With this jump, he did fix a little bit of a potential weakness here. I don't think it was really that big of a deal, but there was something there. If he's confident that he can't be cut here, then he can probably leave his group now. So what's the next thing to look at on the board? Well, probably the upper left corner. This group is not necessarily alive, and this group is not necessarily alive. Earlier on, black did play this knight's move instead of the large knight's move. There's a reason why we usually play this one instead. It's because there's significantly more eye shape here. It's not about points again. It's about the amount of base the group has. With this one, after white has a move here, one more move, and this group is not alive yet. This one also, not quite alive. He can probably save them, but I'm going to be able to get something from them. So because it's his turn to play, he should probably be trying to defend. What I would suggest for him, maybe he can play this peep first. If I just defend, let's play a move that would likely connect up these groups. He's already sort of defended a lot of his cutting Aji. He's good to go. And now he can play a really big endgame move. Not only is this big endgame, it also is protecting this group. If I can attack this group right away, then I should do that. But if he fixes one group, then it's harder to attack the other group. Because now he has a place that he can run to, and he doesn't have to worry about any forcing moves over here. However, black was a little bit too focused on how close the game was territorially, which is why I wanted to keep mentioning this. Yes, I have potentially no eyes here, but this is what black played. And this is just a territory move. I push in, black connects, and all I need to do is just make sure I'm connected. With this move, I probably have an eye here, unless black plays something right away, and I can make an eye somewhere else on the board. I have plenty of space here, as well as a weakness to use. Black decides to play another big sort of end-gamey move, but this is at least defending a little bit. I decide to pull back here. This prevents the Hane from being Sente move, and I'm trying to leave as much Aji as I can. Black actually defends again, which was probably the right move. I decide to peep just to see how he responds. If he leaves anything open here, then maybe we can do some sort of liberty problem here. Or we can threaten on the outside to get a few forcing moves to attack these groups here. Black just connects solidly instead of leaving any Aji. And this makes it so that this group is not necessarily completely alive. So some amount of forcing move on the outside might be useful in the future. So like I said, the strength and weakness of groups was more important. So I pressure this group now. It's hard not to answer, otherwise you get no eyes in that area. And again, I'm just going to keep pressuring. So I got this big in-game move, and now I can get this Hane. Not only is this Hane reducing him to one eye, I believe there's not really a way to make two eyes here anymore. It's also fixing that Tesuji that was in the corner. Now my corner is fine, and I've gotten more points. It's no longer a 2-point area. It's 5, 10 point, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's somewhere in there. So just these two moves have gained me quite a lot of points and made him weak. But I'm not focusing on the points. I'm just focusing on the weak part. The points are just a bonus of what I'm doing. Black actually has some nice moves they could play here, but they decide to jump out here first. And I decide that, you know what, if I just split these groups, maybe something will happen with one of them, making sure that the two potential weak groups are not going to connect to each other. This is where, again, Black probably needs to play something to fix one group first. It's easy to fix this one. You can attach here, probably get a second eye here right away. The top group might be weaker, so it might be better to just like come here, for example. We likely have an eye here, and we likely have an eye here. We just need one more move. We're probably good at that point. And then just let white bully this group a little bit and just try to connect up somewhere. But instead, Black does this turn. I connect. And if Black just played one more move here, then this would have been a really nice position to save one side and worry about the other side, like I was saying. But they try to get a little bit more for some reason. This group is likely going to be fine, probably the strongest of the three, and this push doesn't really do anything. If Black pushes and cuts, maybe they can try to capture this stone. So that's the only thing that I have to worry about, and I can do an easy fix for that. All I have to do is push. If Black responds, now the push and cut doesn't do anything. It can't capture any stones here. So I've already fixed my problem. Easy. I can probably cut if I really want to, but I'm just going to focus on his weak group. He doesn't have two eyes yet. Then he again focused on the wrong thing. And this gave me the beautiful Hane here, this tiger's mouth, threatening to cut through the group and separate, potentially either making points here or capturing the group. He needs to respond, but he's not necessarily alive even if he does. So Black pushes here, and I don't need to respond to that move at all. I can just push and cut. And the game is difficult because this group is now dead. Black doesn't quite realize that though. So instead of doing this move, he plays this to get rid of that weakness there. But I still get to cut, but I get to cut in an even stronger way. And sadly, this group is still not alive. Black does play one more move to try to make it live. But if you look, this is a good type of Go problem that we've probably seen many times in Sumego collections, if you do a lot of them. Instead of killing, I don't need to kill that group. All I need to do is make sure I don't have any weakness. So I just extend. If Black's able to go back here and live in some way, extending down, extending something, then I can just do something like this. Maybe just Hane or something. I guess I did miss an exchange earlier. I'm looking at the board now. Black did push at one point. And I extended to make myself connected. Anyway, So I can just play a move like this. Now I've captured these points here. And this is all I needed to make sure that I was securely winning the game and not just partially winning the game. And this top group is still not alive. However, Black did not try to live. And he saw that I could make those points there. So he decides to Hane here, prevent me from making those points. And I thought, okay, I still technically have a little bit of Aji. So I'm going to give him a chance to live. When I play here, I'm making a little bit of an eye here, making sure this group is never going to be under attack. There's still this cutting point. So I just want to be very safe here. Black plays here because there is some Aji to cut through that. So I'm like, okay, you did that. Now there's Aji to cut through me. So I'm going to keep it nice and simple again and fix my Aji. Not by playing this move. I played this move first in the game. I'll remember the order of moves here. Then he extends. There's still more peeping and cutting Aji, so then I fix it here. This is where Black needs to come back, and if Black comes back to live in whatever way he wants, the game is still at least close. I'm just going to have to win an end game, or I'm going to have to kill this group in some way. But instead of living, Black plays here. And so I said, okay, my groups are all fine. I can connect up here whenever I want. If he cuts me here, I can just go back and make sure I'm alive. So just straight Hane here, and now this group is dead. He played a couple more moves after that, but I think that was sort of enough to show how the game went. I only missed one exchange, so I think I did pretty good. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this game. I thought it was actually kind of interesting. In these Fox games, I really like to focus on just playing as simple as I can, but not just backing off of everything. I still need to cut when there's an obvious cut. I still need to do certain things that I think are just important to make sure you see and do. But because of that, you can see that when I'm playing a solid player, they're actually going to do perfectly fine. Now let me know how you feel about this real board type of review video. This one was not really planned. I had other ones that are planned, but this one was not really, just because I messed up on my own. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you want me to go into more detail, less detail, any other sort of thing that you think would be interesting for these type of videos. And I hope you're having a good day. Have fun.